Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting of the Common Council to order. It's 6:30. Please all rise for our Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The roll call, Councillor Olson is excused. Tom Bridge. Here. Warren Bender. Here. Councillor Stenberg. Here. Councillor Martin. Here. Oh, I skipped McDonald. Councillor McDonald is excused. Councillor Finzland. Here. Councillor Herrick.
Here.
Councillor McKenzie. Councillor Brown. Here.
Okay, before we begin, I'm just going to remind everybody that I will be voting at this meeting. Thank you.
Item 4 is approval of the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item 6 is the consent agenda. There's one amendment. The corrected Plan Commission minutes are handed out in front of you tonight.
Move for approval to a consent agenda, and I'd like to pull item number 6.22.
Okay, did I hear a second on that? Okay, thank you. I got a motion and a second. Approve the consent agenda with 622 poll. All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
6.22 is to approve the application for original Class B liquor and beer license by Jeff Heller, 1323 Broadway Street, Room 110. The trade name is Spirit Room for the remainder of the license period expiring June 30th.
Okay, discussion, Councilor Finzland?
Yes, my reason for pulling this is because I'd like to take the opportunity to voice my objection to the city granting any license to a non-accessible facility. I know this, we have no legal grounds to deny their licensing, but I think on moral grounds we ought to oppose this. People who don't feel that ADA is going to have any impact on their lives just have to live long enough, and eventually we all will suffer some degree of mobility impairment or expire prematurely, one or the other. I know we have no legal basis for disapproving this license, so I'm sure it will go ahead and be approved. But I wish there were some way we could avoid, or other municipalities or other places in this whole country could avoid licensing, granting permission to facilities that do not allow my friends to enter and participate in their activities. And they will never have my patronage as long as they do so. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Brown?
Yeah, that's in my district, and I know Jeff is doing everything he can down there and what he can afford to do. And I know he's trying to put an elevator system in there, but he has not had that accomplished yet at this time. And so, like I say, Jeff has been a responsible businessman in the North End for many years and is bringing that building back to life. So I would really like to see that license approved. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Steinberg?
Just a question. Bob, what about places like the Hammond?
I don't know that we can deny any place a license for the city because they're inaccessibility, but I certainly disagree with patronizing those places. I won't go to those places because my friends aren't allowed to go into them. And I just, as a member of the Mayor's Commission on Disabilities, and I've been on it for 12 years now, have had this drilled into me that ADA are rights worth fighting for, and if nobody objects to this, then people will continue to discriminate against people with impairments.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, got a motion second. All in favor? Aye. Are those disapproved? All right. Motion passes.
Item 7.1, Parks and Recreation Administrator Morgan is submitting for approval the Parks and Recreation Division Trail Accessibility Policy and permit for power-driven mobility devices.
Okay, got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Oh, excuse me, Counselor Brown?
I was just hard to hear you, Linda. Was that on the mobility for the trails?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that 5 mile an hour speed limit is pretty slow. We're going to have joggers passing people up on, they're allowing motorcycles on there and everything else. And I just think that should go back and be looked at. I know on state trails, at least the speed limit when pedestrians or walking traffic is present, then they have to slow down to 10 miles an hour and honk their horns and those types of things, and I think that's reasonable. But I think that 5 miles an hour is pretty unreasonable, and I'd like to see that go back to committee.
Okay, Counselor Bridge?
This spent a lot of time in committee, and it really shouldn't go back to committee. The power-driven mobility devices are, for people with impairments, I think the chances that we're actually going to ever see one on any of our trails is extremely unlikely in most cases. There are some limitations. I mean, certainly there'll be some, but most people aren't going to see them out there. Whether or not they're moving faster than a jogger's moving faster than them, I don't think is really the point. And this could be passed and we'd have it done, because I think Mary could explain, certainly I know she could explain a little bit better than me, but this is behind schedule at this point, I believe, as far as getting it passed. Federal regulations have gone into effect some time ago. So we're way behind on this, and it's a step in the right direction. We brought in John Nussain from, oh, God help me, yeah. And I hope Mary will take a minute to explain a little bit further who all was involved as far as the planning process on this is concerned. But this is a good thing to do, and a lot of thought was put into it by Park and Rec Commission. So.
Yeah, and I know one of the things, I attended the last meeting there, and one of the things I was concerned about is the possibility of pedestrians and that being on the trail, that it should be a slower speed, especially on our paved trails where there's lots of children and there's people on their, bicycles and like you said, runners and so on and so forth. So it's I was concerned about the safety of the individuals. Councilor Bridge?
And just a further note, when you consider some of the trails like the ski trails out in Billings Park and how steep they are, that it really makes a 5 mile an hour speed limit appropriate. I mean, maybe not on the Osage Trail where it's flat, but there are some types of devices that going too fast up or down a steep incline could be a problem. So.
Sure. Councilor Stenberg?
Just as an FYI, I have at least one chair that'll lose 6 miles an hour.
Okay, thank you. Mary, did you want to say a few words on this?
Well, I would just add to Councilor Bridges' remarks that Mr. Nussain was very helpful. He got his colleagues at the Great Lakes Disability Office involved in our discussion. And also, prior to attending the Park Board meeting, I did look at the policies of approximately a dozen other communities, and some of them did institute speed limits. The state statute for snowmobiles, I believe, says you have to slow down to 10 miles per hour when you come upon a pedestrian, so that is another option for the council. But the Park Commission had rather strong feelings about the matter. Mike, you were there.
Yes. I remember that. They did bring up the 10 miles in it, and they even talked it down to the 5. So, okay. Do we have a motion in a second then? Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Okay. Motion passes.
7.2, Planning Director Sirik is requesting to approve the facility use agreement for the former terminal building at Richard I. Bong Memorial Airport to Kestrel Aircraft Company Incorporated.
Got a motion, second. Any discussion? Councilor Brown.
Yeah, I see that they've got 10 years of free rent in there. What's that all about?
Let's see. Well, Jason's not here at the moment, but what I understood, what I read into it, I'm sorry.
Nancy might be able to answer.
Oh, okay. I didn't see you there. Sorry, Nancy. Go ahead.
The 10 years is in return for improvements that they'll be making to the building. Some of them will be pretty substantial, including a door on the front of the building and possibly replacing the concrete on the interior.
Was that intended then to make up for it, the free rent?
Yes, that's correct. It won't make up for all of the investment that they'll be making, but it will be a substantial portion of it.
It would have been nice to see a dollar amount what the improvements were going to cost, so we could kind of balance that with the free rent and the plowing and other janitorial things. And
Yes, Jason's been in discussion with the people at Kestrel, and there have been a number of discussions regarding what improvements they are going to be putting in. An ADA-compliant restroom in the building. They're going to be putting in some electrical upgrades as well, and it will be substantially more than the rent credit that we'll be allowing them.
thank you.
Councilor Bridge?
Correct me if I'm wrong, but in most cases, when a building at the airport has been leased out to somebody who isn't going to do anything to it, it's almost free anyway.
Rents are fairly modest, that's correct. It's not our intention to make money off of them. It's our intention to support the community, the business community operating out there.
And then Nancy, from what I understand too, but however, they will be paying rent on the upper portion. Is that correct?
They have an option to take the upper portion. We're not waiving the rent on that part
Okay.
because we are receiving rent on it now.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Any opposed? By same sign? Okay.
7.3, Public Works Director Getzman is requesting to award the engineering services for Faxon Creek watershed study to Donahue and Associates in the amount of $96,880.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilor Bender.
Yeah, I know that I've spoken to Jeff Getzman about this as far as why the lowest contract bid is not being accepted. And you sent an explanation, and can you paraphrase that into 3 minutes or less? or do you want, since Nancy's here, do you want her to?
Actually, Steve is here as well.
Okay.
Steve Roberts, our director at the ESD, and I'll let him give you a little rundown on what the process was to hire the engineering firm for this service. But obviously, it's in response to the flooding from
Right.
last June,
Yeah.
and we're looking to get a qualified firm on board to do an analysis of that complete watershed and give us some outlook on what we need to do there to alleviate flooding in the future. So.
Okay.
So the evaluation process is one which is seeking to provide the best value to the city rather than necessarily the lowest cost. So what we do is a rather thorough investigation that includes qualifications of the firm, qualifications of the team. We actually did interviews with the three best fits for the city, and then did a sort of an interview of those firms after they presented what their approach would be on the proposal. That process involved representatives from environmental services, including myself, representatives from finance, including Nancy, and the unanimous consensus of our group was that Donahue and Associates provided the best value to the city for this project.
Okay, any other discussion? Go ahead, Warren.
However, that still doesn't answer the point. Why does this have a different contract standard as far as not having to accept the lowest bid?
Well, this is not a public works contract by statute. If it fell within that definition of a public works contract under Chapter 62 of the statutes, it'd be a different analysis. This is a services contract. And all of the things that Steve mentioned in the context of the evaluation of the qualifications is in play here.
Right. No, I understood that. I've already been brought up to speed on it, but I thought for the, as I always say, the 6 people watching at home, that they might want to know. And all the people in the audience, which all of them seem that they probably already know it. But just for point of clarification.
Okay, Councilman McKenzie?
Yeah, and Steve, I think it's important to, for everybody to know that this is the correct process, and I think that that everybody that went into those interviews understood that process and understood that, you know, it wasn't necessarily going to be the lowest bid. They had to be qualified, of course. But this is such an important project that I think you probably understand all of our concerns here, because at this stage, at the very beginning, everything has to line up, everything has to be right for it to all end up the right way, you know, and to have this thing work for doing what it's supposed to be, and that's, you know, for this huge watershed to help out, you know, in case of a 100-year event that hopefully is going to be a 200-year event, but we certainly want all those things to work. So at this point, it has to be a quality organization that's doing this. But thanks thanks for everybody for working on this to make sure that it all is correct.
And thank you for your support.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
Item 10.1 is a resolution introduced by the Planning Department setting a public hearing for April 3rd to amend the zoning code to rezone property south of North 28th Street in the vicinity of Catlin and Weeks Avenues from suburban single-family residential and apartment residential to two-family residential district.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes.
11.1 is the ordinance amending City Code Section 86-94 for the purpose of allowing archery deer hunting on Clough Island.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Councilor Brown?
Yeah, I just wanted, my friend Mickey here had some concerns about deer hunting out there, you know, where Mickey's heart is with the animals and things like that. But, you know, on Clough Island, it's pretty small acreage out there. And if you get a deer herd that starts to build up out there, they're going to overbrowse that island and start to destroy the habitat out there. And also, if the deer are stuck out there, then they'll start to starve to death out there. So we don't want that happening either. So this is a good humane, well, not exactly a humane way, but at least a way to thin the herd out. And a lot of that deer meat is given to Salvation Army and to families in need, so it doesn't go to waste.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. Okay, there's no business by the public, so all approval? Aye. We're adjourned.